What if someone hasn't filed their taxes in a few years? I've heard this a million times.
Oh,
hey, I haven't filed my tax in a year or two. You know, I don't know. I haven't filed them. I haven't paid. Like, when does the IRS really start to take notice with how many years you've gone without filing, or how much money you might owe, or how much money you may have not paid because you didn't know that you need to pay it?
So a lot of times, so what happens is if you get a 1099 from someone and you don't report your taxes, what the IRS does after a couple of years, okay, they'll do what's called a substitute tax return. They'll prepare a tax return using the minimum amount of deductions to see if it produces a liability, and if there's a net liability that you owe, then they'll send you a notice on it, okay? And then that's typically what they'll do there. So if you haven't gotten a notice, you know, you probably, you know, it's been 3 or 4 years, then you're probably not going to get one. But what I find is a lot of times, you know, I have people that, you know, I haven't filed in 5 years or 10 years or whatever. I'm like, all right, we'll go back 6 years, because that's kind of, you know, really how the IRS works. They'll go back, as you know, you could get returns back from 6 years, and they're running in inventory of historical returns. But a lot of times I found on that, like that oldest return, the 6, the 5, the 4, there were refunds that they were due. That's why they didn't get a notice. A lot of times they go, oh, you know, I have to give this stuff to my bank, or they want a history. They'll need it for some reason, right? Maybe they're going through a divorce or who knows what, right? And I'm like, well, you can't get that refund now, because you can only get that refund if you would have done it within the first 3 years. And then it's the same thing with an amendment. Like if you got a mistake on a return, you can only go back 3 years. So now they lose that return, that refund. So that's unfortunate. So a lot of times, you know, I'll go through and then find out that, you know, maybe there's in more cases than not, when I found that out, because they didn't get a notice from the IRS. So the IRS typically would say, oh, they're getting a refund. The IRS is not going to tell you they're going to owe you a refund. They're just going to calculate and go, oh, this guy doesn't owe. And then they're just never going to inform you that you had a refund probably coming to you.
Bastards. So, okay, interesting stuff. So basically, like, so they'll do a 1099. If you have a liability, they send you a letter. Hey, we've done some math already. We figured out that you owe us this amount of thousands of dollars. When would you say? I mean, when I worked with IRS agents, they typically didn't go after you criminally unless you owed hundreds of thousands, or you're a high-profile individual.
Correct.
When would you say you're actually looking at some maybe criminal liability or some serious fines as far as like how much you owe?
I mean, I would say it had to be in the millions.
Okay.
It would have to be in the millions. Yeah, I've had a guy that he winded up owing like a couple $100,000. This guy was pretty slick. I might have told the story on what he would do. Is like back in the days, he would take checks and do like he would keep a higher balance of cash in his account, and then bring just enough checks in there, and then he would just say, all right, I'm going to deposit, you know, maybe out of $5,000 worth of checks. He had 20 in his bank account, and he would like, okay, these $5,000 worth of checks, give me back 4,000 and deposit 1,000. So his account would only show that he had a $1,000 income deposit. So when the IRS came after him, they got all his bank statements, and you could see that you couldn't tell how much cash he was getting out of there, because he wasn't depositing the full amount in there and then withdrawing it. He would do it right at the counter. They would look, oh, you got enough money here to cover it. They'd give him the cash and just show a $1,000 deposit in his account. So he did that for a few years. They got him back, going back 3 years. So he owed a couple $100,000. He made a deal with them. They could have, like, he could. So they came very close.
Did they prosecute him, or did he just have to pay fines?
Well, yeah, he did. They assessed him, but then he's like, I don't have that kind of money. He had to take like a second mortgage on his home to pay it all off, and he made kind of a deal. You know, it was kind of a car deal at the end of the day. But they brought the supervisor guy from the Fort Myers office to come down. He's like, listen, because he wasn't cooperating, he was still being a little slippery. I said, like, you know, we had a lawyer there. He had a tax lawyer. The tax lawyer hired me to help him out. And, you know, the guy stood up, you know, did a whole posturing thing. He's like, you know, I'm going to refer this over to criminal investigation if you don't start cooperating. Tell me the goddamn, you know, he's like swearing at him. So we pulled him out of the room. It's like, listen, like, knock the shit off. You know, you got to come clean. He failed to tell us that this was already his second audit within the past 10 years. So he was up in Jersey, the same shit he had already. Never told us that. So we were pissed. Like, why would you not disclose this to your hand? Like, we're trying to help here.
Yeah, what a dumbass.
So he said, yeah. So he came close to that. Like, you got to be, you know. Typically they use that maneuver when you're like doing some illegal activity. You know, like either drugs or you're stealing stuff or whatever, and then that's how they can use that criminal track to come after you, using the IRS weapon.
Gotcha.
Kind of like the Al Capone kind of method there.
But Steve, just to be real with you, how many people actually get found that way? Because I feel like people don't pay taxes and they don't care anymore at this point. Generally.
Say that again?
People don't pay taxes anymore, just don't care anymore.
Yeah, because what happens, it goes to the collection. There's a collection arm of the IRS, okay?
Yeah.
So they don't have anything to do with the examination, which do the audits. All they do is collection, and now a lot of that is contracted out. The government uses like private like collection agencies to farm that stuff out. They don't even do that in-house anymore. And now, you're just getting it's like a credit card collection, and it just goes in there. And what happens, they have 10 years to collect on it. And after 10 years, if they don't collect on it, then they just put it, it's forever. It's the statute of limitations is up.
So, okay, got it. Hide it for 10 years. Not me,
Yeah.
just saying in general. All right, cool, we can move on.
I used to use that as a strategy too, because I used to do a lot of back taxes when I first started out. It's a lot of work though. I don't do too much of that anymore, but I'm highly skilled in that. I used to do a ton of that type of work. So we used to play the system where we used to do, okay, let's do a currently non-collectible. They put it on a shelf for 2 years. It buys us another 2 years. We get closer to the statute of limitations expiring. Then we'll try to do like a offer and compromise. That takes another year off of it. Then, then we'll go, okay, let's just do a little payment plan. Let's divide it over 72 months, and then you pay it for a couple of years, and then just stop paying it, and then now that offer gets canceled. Now we're another 3 years down, and then next thing some people will ride it out that way. Some people's like, I don't want to have this follow me around for the rest, for the next 10 years.
Steve, real quick, just a real quick shout out to you, man. You helped one of my guys make money from his taxes. So for years, he was buying stuff for his business, wasn't making any money at all. Actually lost money. He doesn't pay the IRS money. This is the first year he actually made money working with you. So shout out to you, by the way. I won't say his name, but he's at my network. You probably know who I mean, but he gave me a gift at the gym yesterday for helping him with his taxes. So that's
nice. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Glad to hear that.
Yeah. So shout out to you for the good work.